Hey guys, I'm PM Asher, and we have Jeffrey Bickle here. Yep, that's what I say.
That's all I got.
That's all I got today. Okay, good. And we work at Trendy Entertainment, as many of you know, and we're here to talk about Dungeon Defenders 2. Yep. So we see a lot of you guys are already talking in the comments. Thank you. We actually, oh no, what? So tell her to do it anyways.
Yeah, she's disappointing a lot of people.
She's disappointing all of our viewers. So anyways, you guys don't know what we're talking about, but someone said that they brought up a really good point. I know you. That it is Friday the 13th, so that you should get a sneak peek of our spooky map. But we have no way to give you a sneak peek, so I'm trying to have someone print out a screenshot of the map. It's going to be a long time until this map comes out, but I do think that since it's Friday the 13th, that's too good of an idea to pass up. So I'm going to make it happen somehow or some way. So cool. So that wasn't what we were intending to start with, but I think before that you guys are going to get a sneak peek just because of that. So we have our questions in our agenda here. So our goal for the first half an hour of the show today is to kind of talk about the new influence vote that's up, right? Mm-hmm. So what is this new influence vote?
The new influence vote is because we heard the last one where people wanted more commanders. This time we wanted to narrow it down, give them a choice between a couple good ideas we had, and narrow it down, see where they wanted us to focus first, which they'd like to fight first.
Yeah, so basically, as all of you guys know, and I'll often repeat exactly what Jeff says back to you guys, we originally did an influence vote. How long ago was it? It was like...
About a month.
A month? Okay, cool.
Maybe a little more.
2 months. I passed Butter Says 2 months. Like 2 months ago, about whether you guys wanted more Elite Force incursions or Commander incursions. Obviously, in order to do that, we had to create both to even get that vote out there. So we did that, and then you guys voted. You said you want to see Commander incursions in the future. So that's why this vote was based around the next option of what Commander incursion you wanted. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see which one wins. I know this vote is for which one comes out first, right. So we still reserve the right to possibly do the other one, depending on what we're working on. But why don't we go over what each incursion is, and then kind of what this will mean for players. And obviously you guys have questions about it, we'd love to hear it. So why don't we start with Griblock. What is Griblock
Griblock the Razor. He is a ferocious goblin. During the first 4 waves, he'll be sending out just huge hordes of very strong, very fast goblins, kobolds, and flying kobolds.
So what do you mean by like very fast? Is this
I mean,
like
there'll be
times 5 speed or like times like 2 speed?
There are technical limitations on how fast we can make them. We are exploring what those are so that we can almost hit them.
So we're gonna hit they're like gonna teleport.
No. They'll definitely be running faster than they do now. As fast as is fun and looks good.
Okay.
They'll also be significantly stronger, so they won't just, run up and die.
Okay.
They'll pose an actual threat.
Cannon fodder that will no longer... We're taking the cannon fodder and we're making them faster and not cannon fodder.
Well, you're just going to need bigger cannons.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. And then he'll come out on his wave and lead the charge with a huge army. So
now, is he going to... Now, do enemies come out on all the lanes, or like how does that work?
He'll be choosing a lane at random. We haven't narrowed down the map he's going to be on yet. We have a couple ideas, but
what are those ideas? Like this, like if you let's see how many maps are in the game right now.
There are 10 maps in the game right now.
So if you had to name the possible 4 maps that it could be on, it's almost half the maps. So don't give anything away.
All right, let's see. There are 2 of the town squares. That don't have them on there yet. That's Market and... I gotta remember the name of it.
You know the internal name though.
Oh yeah, Town Square 2 is the internal name. There's
Greystone Plaza.
Greystone Plaza.
There you go.
There we go.
Official name.
Let's see. We've got both the sewers maps.
Okay.
We're gonna list off as possibilities, and throne room. We're gonna list off as a possibility.
So those are the five possibilities.
Five possibilities.
Griblock Commander incursion. So how do you think players will play this incursion? Like, what kind of different play style will they have to have compared to, you know, just a normal tower defense match on one of these?
You're definitely going to need a way to slow down things and get them and prevent them from from hitting your defenses at all. So frost towers, geyser traps, CC, stuff like that, hitting them with your oil as the huntress. Different ways to prevent them from getting close. You're definitely going to need to build differently because the huge wave will be coming out of a random lane each time. So you're going to need to really focus your defenses every build phase on the lane that is upcoming.
And are you going to need to, like, maybe sell stuff and move it to another lane? Like, is it going to be that challenging, or are you going to slowly build up all the different lanes?
We're still trying to get it. We're going to get it to a place where it feels good. So if it doesn't feel good to have to sell all your stuff and move it, we're not going to do it. But
Okay.
if it feels good to maybe sell one or two key things, build them up somewhere else, it's something we'll toy around with. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so you heard that straight from the source. Jeff's going to be the guy designing and working on these incursions, so that's kind of the idea behind the Commander incursion. So I guess, what if you had to make like a 1 or 2 sentence summary of why someone would pick that incursion? Like, what kind of game type, what kind of person would it be? What kind of
It'd be someone who wants to face hordes of enemies, and someone who, you know, just really hates goblins. Wants to murder a lot of them.
So if you really hate goblins, then Gridlock is your incursion. So I think the question is then, what's the other incursion?
The other incursion is Tuskar the Ravager.
Okay.
Our commander War Beast.
Yeah,
War. Thank you.
War.
War.
The beast is going to be bigger.
Yeah. All right.
That's going to be like a thing that people ride.
All right, but yeah. So he'll during the first 4 waves, he will. We're still narrowing down exactly what it does. It might just temporarily stun towers. It might disable them in an area.
Oh, holy shit! Look, you got one of the
them.
new, more frequent legendaries. You can just like see it sneaking in the corner. Oh, thank you. Sneak those down below the camera. Oh.
Or just right in front, it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's cool. You spoiled it. I have to figure out which one I'm going to show. All right, keep going.
So sorry, yeah. So he'll drop zones on the map, similar to Malthius here, but he will do it in a random order, and there will be a large selection of zones, and he won't always choose all of them. We're still narrowing down what they would do. They'll definitely interact with your towers in a unique way. They might damage your towers. They might make your towers more vulnerable to damage. They might temporarily disable them. And one option is they might outright destroy them. So it's all about what feels good, what makes the map challenging but not unfair.
So that's something that we're going to be playtesting internally, I guess.
Yes, it's something that will be played thoroughly before we let it out, because we want to make sure that, you know, it's a fair mechanic as long as it is a challenging mechanic.
Now, and sorry guys, I'm working on it. I'm going to pick one little piece from each of these pictures to show you guys from the map. This map is very far out, so I don't want to, like, very far out, so I don't want to show you guys full screenshots and get everyone really excited, and then everyone's like, why don't we have this map already? So I'm just gonna fold these into nice little
squares.
Yeah, little squares. I'm picking fun stuff from each section. But so my question for you about the, like, disabling things, is it going to be something that players can play around? Like, are they going to show up and then, like, you get to set your defenses up around it, or is it going to be more of a random thing where it happens and you react to it?
There will probably be 1 or 2 at the start, so players can see what they do, and then it will be something you have to react to over the course of the match, but not necessarily then. It's all about when he'll be casting it, which is something we're still narrowing down. So a couple of the options we have is he might cast it at the beginning of every build phase, so that you would immediately know, and you would have to react by building your towers elsewhere, or just repositioning, or figuring out where you're going to support. And then another option we have is him casting those during the wave, where obviously you're going to need an immediate hero reaction, and then to work on, you know, setting up defenses to support it should that section fall.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So guys, that's kind of the brief layout of the 2 incursions that we're working on now. So please go vote on the website to pick which incursion that you want to see. I'm going to take a look and see if we have some questions from the comments right now. for the incursion. So if you guys have any questions, please ask. And I think after this, we're going to talk about maybe just in general, like game modes and maybe just what some of your ideas are about incursions in general and where you want to take them and where we can take them. So let's see. I have a question here. How rare is it to get legendary items? I played for a few hours today, nearly nonstop replaying maps, and I got a bunch of mystical stuff, but not even one legendary.
That's something that is always changing. So it's hard to nail that down. It's more common now than it was a month ago. It might be less common in a month than it is now, or it might be, it might be more common. I don't think it will be more common, but it's always an option we have on the table.
Cool. So yeah, so that's something that's actively changing. I think in this last hotfix, we actually made legendaries appear a lot more.
Yeah, especially on incursions, and I believe in 25++ as well.
Yep. So that's something that we're actively experimenting. Actually, sorry if I look away from the camera when I talk while I'm folding, practicing my origami skills. So actually, we have a survey out that you can access on the launcher on our site right now. And I think one of the questions is kind of asking how the legendary drop rate feels in the incursions right now.
Right.
So that's definitely a balancing act we want to do. Oh man, I think this one's going to be the largest one that I folded up. Okay, cool. I have these to show you guys in a little bit. Okay, this is from the spooky
little teaser.
Yeah, a little teaser. Okay, let's see. So I think we have a question here, which is, will we be lowering the legendaries, which is related to what we just asked. So I think that's something that we're really looking for feedback on. The game's in early access, and we don't know what's right yet, and that's part of you guys playing it. So we're looking at metrics which aren't entirely set up well yet.
Yeah.
For what you guys are playing, but then also just your guys' feedback in the survey and stuff, and seeing how it feels. Different games. Some games have really rare items that just never drop, and you just have to play all the time. And oh man, if you get one, that's amazing. And other games have the legendary drops every hour. So it's really interesting to kind of figure out what players of Dungeon Defenders want.
It's something we want. We want it to feel really good when a legendary item does drop. So if that means that we have to reduce the rate a little bit, then that's something on the table. But if it means that it's working well now, and it's just we need
more
something else.
So yeah, so we have a question here, which is actually, will we consider reshaping the social tavern looks, please? A default private tavern would be very nice, and then you could go into the social tavern from there. I think this next update that we come out, I think Jay talked about in our influence report this week. It's going to have a lot of revisions to kind of. Oh man, you lost that fast player. Come on.
That'll work.
Not on the stream. You were even turtling. Jeez.
It's okay, guys. You tried your best.
Yeah, that's what Beer Friday does. It makes you lose your gains. All right, so those technically, maybe not visually, but technically are going to alter how it works, and then we're going to keep taking steps from there to kind of change it into how you guys want. There's obviously, a large group of players who maybe not in the way it's currently implemented, but would like the social interaction, seeing what gear other people have, talking and meeting new players. And there's a group of people who don't want that. And then the question is kind of, how do we balance both of those? And even if you have the social part, for those group of people who want it, there could be a million things which just ruin that experience. I think, when we first put it out in the hotfix, we fixed the notifications and the sounds when people jumped in and stuff. It's well, I want to meet new people, but dear God, not like this.
I want to be able to keep my headphones on while I'm doing it.
Exactly. It's got to put them over here while I'm in the social tavern. So there's obviously a lot of changes that are going to come about and do it, but we are going to be trying to find ways in the game to allow people to meet new people that aren't their friends and kind of decide whether they want to become their friends and play Dungeon Defenders with them or not. So let's see here. We have a question about when's hard mode coming out. So as you guys know, I don't know if I would say hard mode was removed from the last patch, but when we rebalanced the game, it wasn't newly rebalanced to fit everything else, so it wasn't re-added back in, which is kind of similar to being removed.
It was restructured.
It was restructured. So it is something that everyone's looking at. We had a great question that I almost replied to on the blog today, but then I was like, no, I'll just save it for the live stream later today, which was actually on the incursion vote, which was a question about why it would take us a while to make hard content. Do you want to maybe answer that a little bit?
Yeah,
go into what some of our ideas are around hard content.
Right.
What we want to try.
We don't want to just make the numbers bigger and call it hard mode. We're looking at.
We might do that, but we don't want to do that.
Yes, that is an option on the table, but we want to explore different ways of, making it more interesting while it's more difficult. We wanted to give players different challenges along with harder versions of the current challenge, you know?
So can you give like a kind of example of maybe just some like off-the-wall ideas, not things that will be in the game, but just like crazy off-the-wall ideas about how we'd look to making it challenging that's not simply saying, oh, well, he had 10,000 HP, but now he has 100,000 HP?
Sure. We've been looking at ways to make on harder difficulties their physical and magic resistances matter more, right? So if you're building one way all the time, it's not going to be as effective. Right, so you're going to need to...
You're like, my physical towers do nothing in this lane, I can't build.
You're going to need to pay attention to what's coming out of which lane and how best to build around that.
Okay.
So different stuff like that, just tossing ideas around, trying to get it to feel interesting.
Cool, yeah, so as you heard it straight from Jeffrey himself, will be one of the people bouncing levels. So there's a lot of ideas that we have. We do actually have the ability to just make it the numbers bigger,
right?
But we're trying to first experiment with some other ways first, and then try to figure out whether we do actually just make the numbers bigger, or we have maybe more interesting ways for it to be difficult.
I'm sure making the numbers bigger will happen regardless, but it's if we can do other interesting things on top of that.
Okay, awesome. All right, cool. So I'm trying to see what other questions we have in the comments here now. Let's see. I don't see any new questions. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to reveal the first of the spooky map. So it was brought to our attention by I Know You that today is Friday the 13th. We are working on spooky maps. They are not coming out anytime soon. No time soon at all. But I thought that, it is Friday the 13th, and since we've told you guys we're working on spooky maps, maybe we should show you a little bit of it. So I had Kat actually run and go, she's like, oh man, you're ruining my Beer Friday. I had her go run and print you guys out some screenshots, which I then folded up into little nice pieces. They get progressively bigger to show you little sneak peeks of the map. So I'm going to come up to the camera. I know this is the worst way to show it off, but I'm doing it on purpose. I understand that this is bad. But that's why we're doing it this way, 'cause it's going to be a really long time. I don't want to get people too excited. So we'll see here, see if it can be seen. So that's a mushroom on the map. You can see that.
That's a pretty spooky mushroom.
It's a really spooky mushroom. And that's your first glimpse at Spooky Forest.
I like it.
This is one of the mushrooms on the map. So you guys can kind of tell the color palette. It's spooky. And that they're mushrooms.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, so we have some questions from the comments here now. We have what about the next big update? Is it the new incursion map? So that's cool. That's definitely something that we want to talk about. I don't think the incursions that people are voting on are going to get into the next update, are they?
It depends on when the next update is.
All right, so
it's definitely the next incursion vote is something that we want to have a faster turnaround on than we did with the previous one. We want people to vote on this, and we want to be able to get it to them as quickly as possible. So hopefully that goes as planned.
Yeah. So I don't think necessarily the new incursions will be in the next update, but one of the things that we are really trying to work on is fixing the matchmaking flow, and this is like a multi-step process. So the next update will include the next steps down the line to fix that. I don't know how far we are towards doing that yet. There's a lot of technical challenges and things that we're solving that it's unfortunate, because I'm just like, geez, just make it like, why don't you guys just make it like this? Like, just like press the button and make it like that. And there's all the designs written up about how to make it, but it's actually some complicated networking stuff that we have to do to get it that way. So the next step in matchmaking will be there. I think we said, I'm trying to think of stuff we've already announced previously, because I don't want to announce new stuff. I think we said that we're going to try to get the first pass of player kicking and player moderation in?
Yeah.
I think that's already been designed, right?
Yes, it has, and it is being worked on currently.
Oh, man. Yeah, so we're going to get the first pass. Once again, like everything else we do, the first pass of it is probably not going to be like the be-all, end-all to moderating player behavior, but it's going to be another additional step down the line towards doing that.
I believe we've also talked about a couple of hero deck changes that are going in to make it less annoying.
So that's really exciting. You're right. I forgot we announced that. So that's part of the matchmaking change. Do you actually want to talk about kind of what those are?
I know the big one is you won't have heroes removed from your hero deck anymore if you're going into a playlist with friends where a hero maybe isn't the right level.
So it'll just stay in your deck.
It'll stay in your deck. It'll get grayed out, so you can't use it, but you won't have to, mess around with it
Perfect. So basically, there will be no more like random screens when you're trying to get to the map. Click the map, you'll press play, and it'll be like, okay, cool, you can play it. Like you can't use that hero, but you can just go.
Right.
And then what happens? I think we said that if you're playing like a private match.
I'm not certain.
You're not certain?
You're putting me on the spot.
Oh man, putting you on the spot. So I think one of the things that we're experimenting with and we'll see is the ability to just use all of your heroes if you're in a private game. So the idea is, and once again, something we're experimenting with is the idea is that if you're in a public match with, you know, public people, well, yeah, we don't want you to be able to switch to your level 1 because if you jump into like a level 25 game and you're like, oh, I'm level 1, I'm just going to sit here, everyone's going to be like, dude, you're like ruining it for everyone. But if you play a private game with your friends, then, you know, you're probably playing with your friends because you're friends, maybe not. But if you're friends, then you probably like agreed that someone could be the level 1 character when they switch to the level 1 character, so they'll let you do that. So that's kind of where our thoughts are on it now. It's what we're working on. No promises, but those are some of the things that we're trying to get into the next update. And I think it'll be the update after the next one that's the real big one, because actually a lot of stuff we're doing on Milestone 13 is prep work for stuff that's on Milestone 14. You probably kind of had some hints about what those things are. Not in this stream. This is beyond that, but that's for some other big features that we're working on. So let's see, we have some more questions here. I have a question about the linked network stuff in the website. Is it possible to add hitbox there as well for those who stream there instead of Twitch? That's definitely a good idea and something we'll look into. I think we put Twitch on because it's what we use to stream, but we're pretty well aware that hitbox is coming pretty popular, so if there's a large enough demand for it, that's something we definitely want to do. I'd love for like everyone in the comments opinions on the media page, and if you guys use it and if it's a good way to kind of get links to other community members who are streaming the game and watch them play. Sweet. All right, so we have about 8 minutes left with you, and maybe at the end of the 8 minutes I'll show one more of the squares from Spooky Force.
Exciting.
So I want to just like, what are your thoughts, since you're predominantly working on game modes, like what are your thoughts about the game modes and the incursions, and maybe like where you want to take them and what you'd like to do, what we don't have time to do, you can just freeball it. None of this stuff is going to be like, may actually happen, but just from the mouth of a designer, where our thoughts are.
Well, I know all of the design team has been watching the community react and play with the current incursions, seeing how they're handling it, seeing how they're dealing with the challenges we're presenting. And we're sort of figuring it out, you know, as we go. We figured out that the Chrome was kind of, I don't know, sort of a flat difficulty, right, where there's not a lot of dynamic stuff happening, and that's not as well received. But Malthius has sort of a couple different phases he goes through as more healing zones open up, and it's more interesting, and it's certainly been responded to better.
So we basically have like Chrome here, which we kind of unfortunately got too late in development from when we were working on the influence vote, and then we have Malthius, you know, here, which is a little better, and that's because they're like more dynamic and more interesting things are happening.
It's a more dynamic, interesting incursion. So I think
and different from like the normal gameplay.
Right.
Okay.
And so I think we're looking at ways to further boost that, right? Having, for example, if Malthius instead would have opened his heal zones randomly, or opened up more if you lose the sub-objective to discourage players falling back.
So are the heal zones on Malthius now, those are like preset locations?
They are preset locations.
So you basically know and you can build around it.
Right, but if there were more options and he didn't choose them all every time, things like that.
So you're saying like maybe Malthius just like decided to heal a whole lane just because he's like...
Yeah, because Malthius just hates heal. He's an angry guy.
He's like, oh, that lane was weak, well, I'm going to heal all of it.
Right. It's different stuff that is both dynamic and challenging, but also fair. We want to make sure that when we're designing these challenges, we give players the opportunity to be better than the content, and not just hope that they get lucky and that the content doesn't just run over them because they rolled
the
poorly.
Ability to strategize.
Right.
So it's like we see it and we can react to it, not just not like someone's gonna go into the map and be like, oh, like Tuskar. Sorry, I almost cursed. I was like, Tuskar put his like tower disable zones in the wrong place this time, so let's all leave and come out. Okay, so we're trying to avoid that.
It's definitely something we're trying to avoid. We're trying to make it reasonable and fair while being challenging.
Cool. So I'm gonna totally put you on the spot right now.
Oh no.
I'm gonna pick an enemy.
Okay.
And this is the second time you're right. I'm gonna put Brad on the spot. Well, the thing is, I can't put Brad on the spot because I have a list of like 100 questions that I need to ask Brad. So he just gets the questions, but you get the fun. You get the fun
Rattle
stuff
them off.
I'm making up.
All right,
yeah.
let's go.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick an enemy, and then you're gonna design an incursion.
All right.
You're just gonna say
Let's
it.
do this.
And it won't probably happen. We're just gonna do. All right.
It almost
so
certainly won't happen. Let's do this.
Fire Wyvern, the craziest, most like batshit insane.
All right.
Incursion.
All right. We have for the first section of the map.
Well, what's his
before he
name
comes
first
out,
of all? The Fire Wyvern.
Harold.
Harold. Okay.
There we
So
go.
it's Harold the Fire Wyvern.
Right. He does bombing runs over the map.
Okay.
So
So he's
just-
just like
Just like
lights, fire bombs.
light sections of the map on fire, right?
okay, and that disables towers, right?
It catches towers on fire,
Oh, okay.
which will continually damage them. And the
I
fire
see,
doesn't
so-
go away, man.
Oh, you can't put it out.
You can't put it out, but you can.
Not even with like a geyser trap. No.
No.
No. Okay.
That's going to be too hard. That's too complicated.
Okay, too complicated. Okay, so he flies over lanes. And
Flies
he
over lanes.
Catches towers on fire.
Catches towers on fire. Catches people on fire.
Okay.
Just sets areas of the ground on fire. So you need to either move it or just
So you need to
stand there and
you need to
hold
sell
R
it
on it.
before they like. Basically,
Right.
you need to sell them before
sell
they
it,
die.
recoup some of your investment.
and then rebuild. Now, do zones catch on fire too, or just like the stuff?
Zones, whole areas.
Zones.
So like there's a section of the ground now that's on
It's
fire, right?
So
You
it's
can-
like
you
the
walk
floor
through
is
it,
lava.
you catch on fire. Yeah, floor is
Okay.
on lava.
Yeah, so you can't even
That
sell it
just-
because you can't get close to it unless you have like
Yeah.
a flying hero, which there
There's
are
no
none.
flying heroes,
There's no
stop.
flying heroes. Okay. So basically, and then like, how does he change? Is it all like air enemies? Maybe some of the air enemies.
No,
walk on
I imagine there'd be like air enemies coming up above the ground lanes, so
Okay.
sort of same spawners, but just coming in
Okay, just
through
low
the
to the
doors,
ground,
low
so-
to the ground.
Okay.
Real heavy on the air enemies for this map.
And maybe some like flying ogres.
Why not? Return of the Goblin Copter.
Exactly. So you guys heard it here from the source. So it's going to be Harold. He's the Wyvern. He's going to catch lanes on fire, which deals damage over time to your towers. There's also Goblin Copters. They come
Yeah.
back. Can the Goblin Copters also firebomb?
I don't see why not. Just fire everywhere, right?
Exactly. I think
Burn
that,
it all.
You know, I think that Goblin Copters were not hated enough in the first game,
Yeah.
so we need to give them a
If
couple.
they just permanent fire
yeah,
areas,
exactly.
yeah,
And we'll
that'd be good.
also go back and put them on all the other maps. You know,
Yeah,
just
I mean
to-
you have to. I mean you made the enemy, you might as
yeah,
well.
exactly, right? So I want to know what you guys think of that idea here, and then we'll also answer some questions from the comments. But I think that was fun. That was
Yeah,
great. Oh,
I enjoyed it.
We'll write that down. I'll put Brad on. I don't have time to. All right.
Jeez.
So we have a question here, which is: are there any plans to add a fifth tower to our hero's arsenal, like in DD1, or that completely throw the game's balance into oblivion? So there are no plans to do that, but I don't think that necessarily means that we won't.
Right. I think we're looking at all the heroes' kits, seeing where the holes are, what they need, and what.
So maybe one
they
hero will
don't.
get a fifth tower, and
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I
either.
think we wanna show equality among our heroes.
So yeah, so I think the answer to that question is just it's something that we need to discover through balance. There's still a lot of balance changes that need to happen to the other heroes, or that we maybe not that need to happen, but that we'd like to happen. So it's definitely something that we're going to be looking into in the future, figuring out how to make their kits even. I think the reason why there are 4 in DD2 versus DD1 is because there was always a 5th tower that was just not used at all in DD1.
Right.
Like no one would ever use that tower, so we're like, okay, well, let's just give everyone 4 towers instead, and maybe we can balance all. Now they're not balanced now, but we're like, maybe if we give everyone 4 towers, it'll be easier to balance all the towers. So I'm
Right,
like,
and to give them sort of unique kits, right? Where
yeah, exactly.
where maybe they're missing something, but it's made up for in other classes, and you need to sort of
get those
build
heroes
out
in
your deck
and
and
swap them.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So I hope that's a good answer to that question. Let's see here. Also, epilepsy could be a problem for the game. Yes, that's true. I don't know if I have much more to say here. Okay, so as Brad just Skyped me on my phone, and I'm like, better be coming in a minute. Okay, so let's see. Is it intended for certain item mods, specials not to stack? For example, the Squire Tower mods currently do not stack, and all the Apprentice ones do.
I do not think that is intended. Write a bug report. let us know specifically, and we'll definitely look into it.
Someone here says Harold is just misunderstood.
That's true. He's all right.
Yeah.
You got to get him on the weekends though. He's real stressed at
he's
work.
A little less fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have here Question: will we get challenge mission backs? Like, what about raining ogres? Or I think this is because we talked about Harold, or maybe goblin copters that shoot kobolds. Man, I like that.
Just like little kobold
That's
missiles.
evil. Yeah. Oh, and he wants to see the mushroom again. Okay, that's fine.
Oh, mushroom part 2.
Yeah, it's the mushroom.
All right.
Part 2. Oh, there we go. There's the mushroom. I have a new one to show you guys in a minute.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it's pretty exciting.
It's an even better inanimate object. Well, mushrooms, they're not inanimate.
Oh.
Yeah. They're like
Have you ever
fungus.
seen a dancing mushroom?
No. Well, no. I guess if it can't dance, it's not alive.
That's true.
All right, so you were gonna answer the question there.
What was
Do you remember what it was?
Oh, it was challenge modes.
Yes.
It's something I think we're looking into expanding the types of incursions that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So they are closer in line with sort of DD1 challenges, sort of the stuff they did. Just expanding that system to include some of the crazier stuff.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm going to send you to go get Brad
Thank you
from
for having
his room,
me.
which
I
you can see.
will send him
And in the meantime, I'm going to show you guys a second. This is actually a sub-objective. But once again, it's printed on a piece of paper. It's really spooky and really blurry. So this is one of the sub-objectives from the spooky map. You maybe make out what it is. Oh, too many spoilers. Don't let Brad know. Let's put these over here. So so guys, this is Brad Logson. He's senior producer on Dungeon Defenders 2.
Hello, everyone.
So basically, for you today, Brad, I have this nice packet. It's 4 pages of questions.
Oh man.
Yeah.
4 pages.
We're not gonna get through all of it. We're gonna start there. But I just want to let you know that they told us when we started that it's Friday the 13th, and they demanded that we show them some of the spooky map.
Oh, really? They demanded?
So I printed out. They've already seen a mushroom.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
What did you print out?
Well, this one's a secret.
Okay.
So I'll show you. This is what they get to see next.
Okay.
So they've seen a mushroom. The other ones are smaller. See, they saw.
What do they have to do to earn the right to see one?
Just to listen to you answer all these questions.
Oh, okay, great.
So they saw the mushroom, and then they saw the sub-objective. So I warned them that this map's not coming out for a very, very long time. But it's only because we're doing a stream on Friday the 13th that they get to see. They get even this little bit of a sneak peek. Okay, so are you ready? Question marathon?
Let's do it. All right.
All right. It's been oh man, I already answered this one. It's been a while since we've heard news about the anti-toxic players features. Where do they stand now? Are you still developing the social ranking system? And what about an ignore list or kick features?
Good old Gutu, right?
Yeah.
Gutu's always in there with the
He's
questions.
got the first question.
I know. He's probably in the stream right now too. He's like Mr. Commenter. It's great. We actually, if you guys watched the influence report, we talked about that just a couple days ago. And how we're going to handle toxic players and AFK players and kicking is something that one of our senior designers, Brett Norton, is working on right now. We really have taken a lot of cues from what Riot does in League of Legends and trying to figure out kind of taking the positive approach. How do we reward good play and then really put kind of an emergency valve in for bad play? So look for more details coming up here in the next month or so. It's in our current milestone, and we'll see kind of how it progresses.
Perfect. So like I said before, that might be something that's in the next update, but we'll see. It's something we're working on now.
At the very least, by the way, it is something that we'd love to get your feedback on, because we really want to create a system that's positive for everybody. So if you guys have specific ideas, I know Brett and Jay and Dan have been looking at all designers have been looking at that a lot lately. Feel free to put those threads out, and I'm sure they'll really appreciate the feedback and notes.
Perfect. So question number 2. With the addition of the social tavern, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I can no longer group with friends and then join a public game. Since Find Match no longer takes people with you, is there ever going to be a party system where we can group up in our own version of a tavern and then choose our level range slash?
And the answer is yes. To be honest, Social Tavern is a big new feature. It's kind of the phase 1 of it. We know there's some things that we need to fix. For example, you saw in the influence report that we were talking about how we had offered a way for players to get to private matches right now, and it was after you got into the Social Tavern, and some people didn't like that, and so we're trying to figure out a way to move that up. We have some challenges in how we deal with bringing friends into the Social Tavern, because they can only hold a certain number of people. And so we're trying to find out maybe adding the ability to join a public match from a private tavern, or figuring out how to reserve space for people that you can get in. It's kind of a complex problem to solve, but a lot of players were asking for new opportunities to meet new people, and we figured that adding the Social Tavern in early access that works, and then iterating on the features is the right way to go. If you guys have preferred ideas for how you'd like to see it focus or function, it'd be great to see it.
Perfect. So question 3. Currently, crowd control immunity seems to encourage single hero builds as combos across heroes become less effective. So what would the direction between CC immunity be going?
To be honest, we've been talking about that a lot lately, both with doing immunity or diminishing returns or kind of finding different ways to handle our crowd control in different places. And we don't have an answer yet. There's a lot of big discussion going on right now about how the Geyser Trap and the Lightning Auras work together and how we want to deal with that stun lock problem. There's a lot of different design approaches we can take. How we can do crowd control immunity can be based on enemy type. It can be based on diminishing returns and duration. We might change some of the design to make it a little less potent than it is right now. Ideas are also welcome, but that's something that we're working on. I really don't have an answer yet because we don't have one.
Perfect. So the next question here. When can we expect Pets and/or Foundation Part 2?
Oh, Gutu again. Pets are coming. When to expect them? Sometime in the near future. I believe we've released a little bit of content about pets in the past. We haven't yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm planning on how to release some content about pets.
Okay.
We've mentioned them on the stream, though. We told people we've been working on them.
Yes, and they're a big initiative for us right now because we know it's a new feature that you guys want. Pets take a lot of work. We have to design the core systems. We have to build the pets. We have to animate them, get cool VFX on them. They're actively in our development pipelines. It's going to be sometime in the near future. And when I say near future, I don't mean like a year from now. I mean hopefully within the next,
than a year.
Less than a year.
So I'll take this next question because I like the restate question. So in the past stream, and because I'm showing off the spooky map now, in the past stream, a spooky map was mentioned. Is it a new map? Yes, it's actually maybe more than one new map. And then will we be seeing any new maps soon? Maybe Foundation Part 2. So the answer to that is no. There's not going to be any new maps soon. Our kind of plan right now is to get people features, and then after we get people features, we get people new maps. So we are working on new maps. You already saw like a mushroom from one of them. But
You're devious.
I know. But right now, that's why I told them they'll have to wait a little bit, because right now, with the current systems in the game, when we put a map in, it's just one more map, and we don't want to put in Throne Room +1, and now everyone just plays Throne Room +1, and what's the point of doing that in early access? So we're trying to find ways to make playing multiple maps meaningful and having rewards for multiple maps. And then once we get those systems in, we're going to drop multiple maps. So that way you guys will be like, okay, cool, not only is it better to replay all the current maps now, like there's more meaning to those maps, but also I have a reason to play these new maps for something different. So.
We have some really cool ideas that we're working on right now for that. We're hoping to come out with more information pretty soon.
Yep. All right, cool. So, this is the long one. I will read it. I mean, there's maybe other long ones, but I'll read this one, and then the answer is that Jay is writing a form. I can tell you the answer. It's like
no, I got the answer.
Wait, this is Jeopardy.
I got the answer.
Oh, you read the answer?
Well, I'm going to answer it.
I was going to play Jeopardy and tell them the answer. And then, okay, anyways. So the question is, the problem of relative anti-air power is that for the same 50 building mana as the Skyguard, a well-placed ballista can and will kill every air unit. So the Skyguard tower will never be useful given the state of the game. Worse yet, you can use the exact same ballista to attack ground troops without the need of combos to shoot them up. The enemy who got hit, Tier 6, the last one, got about the same amount of damage as one projectile as the Skyguard tower. So it isn't even useful beyond numbers alone. Is that intentional? If it is, I would like you guys to describe what your vision of the role of the Skyguard tower should be, and how you will adjust the enemy so that it will fit that particular role in such a way that other defenses will be less efficient and effective in fulfilling it. If it isn't, what adjustments do you guys have in mind to make it useful, or would you guys prefer scrapping it entirely and putting up something completely different?
First off, I think a good comment is we really appreciate the attention to detail in a question like this, and it's really awesome that you're seeing the same kind of things that we're talking about internally. I believe in a previous stream we've talked about how we've been going through our heroes that we designed way back in the very beginning when we kicked off the game and doing what we call revamps to them. For some people that were on the Defense Council, the Apprentice went through a pretty big redesign where we restructured how the mana barricade worked, and then we actually reiterated on that again just recently where the time it comes up is a lot shorter and its kickback is a little bit more. The Skyguard Tower's role in its original design was to be a really powerful anti-air tower that we could use to generate new, more interesting air units. And we've been evolving how air units work in the game and their role they play, and looking at how other towers interact with them. Like originally the Geyser Trap was supposed to hit enemies up, and the Skyguard was a really cool combo for that where they could take a lot of damage at a short amount of time. The balance for all those towers is not very good right now, to be honest. And it's something that we've been iterating on in our last Foundation 1, and into Foundation 2 and beyond, we're going to continue changing that. And a lot of that goes to the roles they play. The Monk hasn't gone through his revamp. We have a lot of ideas for how to repurpose the Skyguard Tower or potentially change it into something functioning a little bit different. At one point, I actually think we had a version of the Skyguard Tower that functioned more like an anti-air machine gun that just shot really, really fast and spun around. And we didn't like that, and we changed it into something else. So as our current vision and role for it, it's supposed to be something that we can do a lot of cool dynamic things with, including with combos, with the Tornado and the Geyser, and with the air units that we're going to introduce both now and down the road. How that evolves as the game plays, we're still trying to figure that out.
Perfect. So
also, Jay is putting a forum post up to talk about it in more detail too.
And basically get feedback from you guys as well. So that will be up by the end of the workday today. All right, perfect. Next question. So we have Avalanche asks, are there any plans in the near future before, say, April, May, for an update to feature something more attainable? In a sense of either level progressions like 25 to 30, item class progression, past legendary refining, selective progression. For example, to do this, you have to pass criteria X, Y, and Z, beating keys, getting boss kills under 3 minutes, or any combination of this.
And the answer is yes. One of our big focuses right now is adding more compelling, what we call compulsion loops into the game, things that you can acquire that complement the loot grind, or add even new ways to acquire things in the game that's not just loot. And a lot of it, I mean, pets is one of those types of systems, and we're working on that right now. It's going to be a little while before we can get that in. We have other ones that we haven't announced yet that I think Phil would be mad if I talked about. But it's an active thing for us. We want to find a lot of different rewards that you can acquire and different ways that you go about doing that. And some of the one that's coming up in the next 3 to 6 months we think you're going to be really excited about.
Yep. So that's something that I say we're basically just starting to work on some of those things, and there will be a lot of them by the end of the year. So that'll be really exciting. So if Kazoon asks, is it possible to get a text somewhere on the screen when you're in a tavern or in a game telling you what difficulty you're at?
That's actually not a bad idea.
I think we already had something like that implemented, but not working anymore. Remember the eye over there was supposed to change?
Yeah, but I don't believe it ever shows you that in the tavern.
Yeah, well, in the tavern
because you don't have the eye in as part of the HUD. So that's actually a really good feedback note. I think right now in the tavern, when you're actually in the loop, all it does is show you, if you go to the war table, you see some feedback of where you're at. We're really careful about adding information into the HUD. We really want to have that kind of minimal HUD approach and try to only show critical stuff on there. But that's actually a really good suggestion. That was something we should talk about.
So hey guys, I see some people thinking that we're ignoring the chat. We are not ignoring the chat. That's the whole reason why we have these spoilers for the spooky map here for you today. We are taking questions from the chat, so if you guys have a question, please let us know. We also have this list of 4 pages of questions that people have given us on the forums from before the stream, so we're also going through these. So we'll probably answer a little bit of both. I'll try to do one-on-one if we can. So let's see. We have a question here. Is it possible to have a key, example in the inventory, that opens up your inventory no matter where you are?
We have debated about that a lot, and it's something that we're not really sure if we want to add that in or not. You know, one thing that we really like is that concept of the forge and going back to this object where you go and manage your items and whatnot, and kind of creating that pacing back and forth. But it's not out of the question. It's something that I think we can continue to talk about as we prototype and try different mechanics. Maybe make an interesting influence vote down the road. We'll kind of see.
So then we have the question from the comments here, which says, how soon will pets be out? 1 week, 2 week, 8 years? I think it's before I have a kid. And
well, I don't know when you're going to have a kid. It's definitely not 8 years. It's also definitely not 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah, so neither. Yeah. Maybe more guesses. We can go through
maybe if they get closer to the actual...
Well, we could just keep saying no. So, all right, anyways, the next question from here. So is it possible to... sorry, I just read this one. Could you make a keybind for drop all mana?
I thought we had one already that we drops all mana.
You press it a lot and it drops mana.
The answer is yes, we could. That's actually a good suggestion. Figuring out which key to add that to, I mean, that's a good suggestion. We should add that into our backlog.
So we have a question here. After you hit level 25, you're going to grind for gear. I've been thinking about the subcores, and I don't really see any benefit of keeping them up versus the work required to do so. Are you planning to implement something like increased loot chance for each round when kept up, or something that in the future the subcores will have more of an effect after reaching level 25 than it does now? Yeah,
and we certainly are. There's a number of designs that have floated around about, and both from new ideas and the ideas we had in the past about increasing the relevance of subcores. Some of that is about what I was talking about before. We want to add in some more reward loops and then use a subcore staying up as ways to amplify those reward loops. Another thing that we've talked about is, we're still iterating. We're kind of on the first phase of those end-game chests. We're adding more components in to be able to control how those things work and what loot comes out of them, adding in more options aside from just items that come out of them. And then we've talked about actually changing the chance for them to be a blue or a purple or a legendary, a gold, based on the subcourse staying up. So all these ideas are things that we're talking about right now internally. We actually really like the concept of making the subcourse have a little more meat than just right now. It's more experience and currency based on completing the map with all of them up every wave.
Man, this question was one that I was harping on for a long time a while ago, but
you
forgot about. So I thank you. I thank you for reminding me to keep reminding people internally about this question.
Oh no!
Is it possible that we would ever see unidentified legendaries?
This went away for a while.
Yeah, I forgot about
now
it.
It's coming
I stopped
back.
playing Diablo.
Yeah.
I started playing Hearthstone, and Hearthstone does not have unidentified legendaries in it. What's the answer?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So
and we have a lot of ideas about how to enhance the loot system on a whole bunch of different levels, both in trying to find new ways to customize the item enhancement system, improving the way that you discover stats on an item, improving the ways that with the item enhancement system the items grow, and adding some more of that randomness and excitement and ways to impact that by other items that you find. So I actually like this idea a lot. It's definitely something we can think about in the future.
So I'm going to play the pitch of this to Brad for a second. So the reason why loot games need unidentified legendaries is because you're actually happier the longer that it's like the build up to not knowing what it is.
Oh yeah.
So psychologically, it's like you pick up the item and you're like, this could, like in Dungeon Defenders 2 right now, you like you see the only like tension you get is you see the orange line and you're like, all right, cool, and you spin around and you're like, oh, nah, I don't need it. Versus this where you're like, oh, it could be good. Got to beat the map, and then go back to the tavern and look at it, and you're like excited the whole time because you're like, oh, is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be good? Is it gonna? Then it's not, and then you just go do it again. But you're happier for way longer than before, where you're just like.
Yep, and I mean, there's a lot of games that leverage that system. I mean, everyone knows about Destiny and their wonderful Cryptarch system. Once they fixed it, so it didn't take away, you got a purple and it ended up being a green. That kind of sucked. And once they got that working, actually, it's kind of exciting to see that. Oh man, I don't know what this is, or sometimes you're doing what it is, and you have kind of that cool tension moment. So I mean, it's a great idea.
So I'm gonna underline that one. Start bothering people about it again. All right, so
if Dan Haddad's watching this right now,
exactly.
you'll have something in your inbox probably shortly from Phil after this.
Will. It's just gonna be a subject.
Okay,
so
do you have any questions from the stream?
What?
Do you have any questions from the stream to answer?
Let's see. So will DD2 be playable on NVIDIA Shield, Android in general? Maybe. And that's like right now we're focusing on PC and PlayStation 4. It's the only platforms it's announced for. That's kind of where our focus is.
Yes.
So when can we expect the first endgame content to be released?
Well, we are taking our first attempts at endgame content right now. We just haven't gotten it right yet. We did our incursion modes recently, and our goal is to try to create kind of variations on a theme of our core experience and add some new challenges in. We don't think we've got it quite right yet. We're still trying to figure out how to make those challenging. There's an influence vote up right now for a new idea for an incursion, and we're doing balance passes on the current ones to kind of redefine those mechanics and make them a little more engaging. We have other ideas for in-game content that we're working on. A number of people noticed that we removed hard mode, and a lot of that came down to just not having enough time in the last part of Foundation 1 to add that back in, but it's going to be something we're going to be introducing down the road. And we've also talked about bringing back challenge modes, adding in hardcore mode and survival and variations on a theme to kind of give you guys different experiences once you reach that 25++ range. So some of those things are going to be coming out here on the next coming releases, next 2 or 3, 4 patches. Stay tuned as we kind of flesh those pieces out.
So this one starts with a little bit of some compliments here. So I love how much you guys are getting done in such a short amount of time.
Oh,
it shows
thank
that
you.
You're working very hard. It seems that the temp bag is causing a lot of problems with loot disappearing and lag in the upgrade window. Have you been thinking about changing this or maybe adding a sell all button?
I think QA would honestly buy us all dinner if we added a sell all button to the temporary item bag. John is like emphatically shaking his head right now. It's something that is actually, we have it on our schedule on the next milestone or two to do kind of what we call quality of life improvements to the inventory system. And one of those that we're aiming to introduce, I'm not sure when patch is going to hit, but we want to add filtering into the item inventory so you can better filter, and the ability to sell based on those filters so that you can manage your inventory a lot more efficiently. We really like the idea of the temporary item bag because we don't believe that you should have pressure to manage your inventory when in the heat of a game, something you can do a little bit later. But we do know that there's some improvements we can make to make it function a little bit better, and some of them we already are working on.
So someone, and I would like you to make a forum post about this, so not a question, but a great idea from the comments.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it is, I think so. It's like, could a chest appear in a loot room, so like you could beat a boss or something, and then you get a message that says, a legendary chest has appeared in the tavern. So then you go back to the tavern and you get to open the chest and see what you got.
You know, we designed the tavern, listen to me. We designed the tavern very specifically to be extendable. You know, the way it's, when we went into the content phase for it, we're like, okay, let's make it modular so we can like blow out walls and add new rooms and stuff. That's actually a really cool idea. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. I think that's probably also not like super difficult to do. So
Yeah.
we used to have that little chest space. Got rid of it though. We did a long time ago.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We had something in there.
All right. So when will we see costumes and tower skins in the game?
Cosmetics are going to be coming soon. I know I say that a little bit often, but
Yeah, that's
honestly,
your favorite word.
well, because some of these things that we're talking about are actually in development right now. You guys have seen some of the first costumes that we've done the art for, and those meshes are actually completed, and we're building the systems in order to be able to swap them out. Actually, some of the UIs are being worked on right now. It's a big push for us to want to give you guys the option to customize your character, and it's, you know, the only one that I say soon is I don't know when it's going to be done. You know, we don't want to release something to you guys that's not good. We have kind of this commitment to at least have a certain level of polish before we release new features, but I mean, hopefully very, very soon.
So let's see, we have 10 minutes left. I think we still have
a lot of questions.
We have a lot of questions, so we're not going to get all the questions today. I apologize.
Yeah.
Probably going to ask Josh to do a cutoff of the questions next time. We're going to cut them off at a certain amount, but because I really do want to take some questions from the comments here. So we have here, will there be character wipes before release? If so, how many? I'll answer that one. You know, we say, like we say in the Steam thing, we don't want to do character wipes, and we're going to try to wipe responsibly.
I mean, it goes beyond that. You know, we actually put programmer time, engineering time in to add a very robust system that allows us to wipe specific types of things. And all of this is because it's not our goal to reset you guys during early access. But we're going to implement features that dramatically change things like loop time, or loop progression loops, or the power of the player as they grow, or maybe we revamp an entire leveling up system and we need to pull something back. That feature exists right now. Our hope is to only wipe when necessary and only hopefully wipe what is necessary based on the new feature that we're adding.
So I think, you know, an answer is like before we removed relics and introduced armor, so we wiped.
We'd have had to wipe relics.
Right. You know, if we like change how heroes level up or something, then we might have to wipe characters, but it would be in service of what like you guys want to see. It wouldn't be like, okay guys, like you know, we're wiping next week because we want you guys to play through it again so you can get data. It's like, hey, you know, we implemented this new system, and the way the new system works, there's like no such thing as old characters. It's all completely different now.
Right.
So unfortunately, there's a way.
And to talk about what Phil was saying, even what we did when we did relics to armors, we'd never have to do again. We have it set up now that we could keep all your weapons and just wipe an armor. That way we can be very aimed. So it's hopefully
wipe all their legendaries. You guys, we gotta rebalance legendaries, so it's like you keep everything else, but your legendaries are ours.
But the point of it, and I hope you guys can appreciate this, what we're really aiming for is to protect you guys' progression and time investment. It really means a lot to us that you guys are having fun. We know people are playing the game a lot, and we've put a lot of effort on our side into trying to protect that as much as possible. And know that if we ever decide or if we ever need to wipe anything, it's really because that's the only way for us to give you guys the best experience when the game goes live as we can.
All right, so questions from the comments. So you're going to love this one. Danny's going to love this one. Are the new legendary weapons models placeholders because they're reusing lower tier weapon models?
I can't answer that one, actually.
But
I know that... No, we haven't decided yet. But yeah, the new legendary weapons right now are what they are. And if we decide to replace them with other meshes, or we just add new legendary...
Danny hears about this comment, though, it's decided. So there you go. Okay. So will the game be free to play at any point? Yes, it will. Right now, if you buy early access, man, I haven't said that's not streaming in a while.
Yeah.
If you buy early access for $24.99, you get $30 worth of currency, and you get some cool hero embellishments, which is part of what we're actually working on now.
Yep.
And some other fun stuff. So yes, it will be free to play in the future. If you buy it now, you get to play it early, and more importantly, you get to kind of do what people in the comments and these nice long list of questions are. And I actually want to express how much these questions kind of influence. Like I already mentioned the unidentified legendary things, but they really do influence kind of what we put on the future milestones and where we are involved in the game. I hope everyone can see that with the updates that we've done since December.
Yeah, and I mean we meet weekly, once a week to go over. I mean, in a live stream we only have a certain amount of time, but we go through these things and identify action items every single week. So it's really valuable to us.
And oh man, this is something that we just pulled off of the list, but I'm gonna ask the question anyways.
What?
Have you thought about Zelda type secrets where if you push the cobalt off a cliff to below a hole in the wall, it might lead to something like special or secret.
Right. We've actually done a little bit of prototyping of things like that. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't. We've been trying to go through our maps and identifying areas where that might be, might be an effective thing to do, and we've been looking at when we build our new maps, trying to inject some of that stuff in. So stay tuned as we go, and that's hopefully something we're going to be able to sprinkle in as we go. I can tell you right now, the tavern definitely has some of those components into it. You know, kind of Easter eggy areas that you can explore if you look around, and our goal is to continue finding creative ways to add that content in the future.
Yeah, and that just reminds me of, I'll tell two, I'm going to segue into DD1 story. So there are two secrets that almost made the Xbox ship of the day that got pulled out when we were looking over it for memory costs. One of the secret was in the Goblin Mech map, there was a secret elevator that you could get in, and Morgan did this, and it would take you up out of the map into an entire secret area.
I don't think I ever found that one in that map.
No, it was taken out. We found it
before
the game shipped, and we took it out. There were some that made it in. That one did not make it in. And then the other one was one that Mark did, which also got taken out, which he put was the Pantheon. He put a 2-scale model of the Pantheon hidden in the tavern somewhere. If you looked at it, it was 2-scale, but it was way eating up too much memory, so it was found and taken out. But it was pretty ridiculously impressive when you got up to look at it. Wait, what?
That's hilarious.
Yep. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. Let's keep going for some questions here. So I would love for you to make an FAQ of all these questions, so you don't have to answer the same questions every week with the same answer. So, that's a good point. I think that's not something that we're going to do right now. It's exciting to kind of, new people are watching the stream every week.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
have new questions to answer. So yes, everyone can go back and watch all the old streams, but also, for people who haven't or new people or stuff, we feel okay answering the same questions again. We'll try not to answer the same question too many times in one stream though. So is there any plan to add, oh man, I love this question too, to add item linking in chat so players can easily show other players what items they have equipped and what they found?
Yeah, we actually, our chat system is completely first pass. We really are just using what's default in Unreal at the moment. We have designs to really add a lot of robustness into it. One of the things we want to be able to do is support being able to message people through the chat system that are not currently in the game, like talking to friends. Way down the road, not anywhere in the next couple months, but something that is more long-term, so not soon. There are some things that aren't soon. We're talking about adding a little more robust social features like potentially guilding or clanning and ability to communicate with them. And when we start revamping those systems, part of that is going to be adding in things like item linking and maybe not just items, but other things like positions in maps or stats on your towers based on what you have equipped to you, that kind of thing. So that's down the road. That's not soon, but it is something we've talked about, and we actually have some designs based on that stuff that we did when we were doing some evaluations on difficulty quite a while ago. Yeah.
So I have a question here, which is not really a question, but oh man, it just got removed. Scrumptus said he wanted to thank us for scrapping the MOBA, and that made him have faith in us. So I just
made a lot of us happy too.
So let's see here. Why is it that when Chrome enemies die, they change into the normal versions of themselves?
I mean, you want the technical reason? I can tell you.
What's the technical reason?
Well, Chrome enemies have a material effect that is applied to them when they spawn. For a while, actually, when they spawned, they didn't have the Chrome ability on them, and they would walk a certain thing that would get applied to them by the way that the scripting worked in the map. And it probably is just a bug setup where the material is terminated as soon as the enemy dies because a buff is attached to the, or a debuff or whatever is attached to the material effect. And once that debuff fades, the material effect is removed. We just have to fix the setup so that the material effect is not necessarily tied to the buff's termination.
Perfect. All right, so
I don't know if anyone gets that, by the way.
No, that's perfect. That's the kind of answers that I want people to get on the stream. So we're going to have basically 2 more questions from here. Okay. And then I'm going to show the last sneak peek of Spooky, and then that's all for this Friday. So you guys have a good weekend. So I have a question here, which is, let's see, is there any possibility of survival mode coming soon?
Coming soon, I'm not sure actually. So we have, and I'm being honest, we have time in the schedule over the next 2 milestones. We do our development cycle in milestones to explore and build out a new game mode. And there were 2, I'm just going to expose this, there were 2 game modes from DD1 that we were exploring. One was revamping hardcore mode and one is revamping survival mode. And we haven't picked which one we want to do yet. So we prototyped both, we played both of them. We're kind of exploring which one we want to spend time into first. And one of those.
I know which one I like better.
Which one do you like better?
Survival. That's what they're all going to say too.
John's not going to say. So maybe that decision will be made very soon. But we are planning to introduce a new game mode within the pretty soon in the foreseeable future, next couple milestones or so. And I know that there's survival, hardcore, and then a new game mode that is not from the previous game that we've explored.
Perfect. And then we have, this is the second question here, which is there a plan to allow us to buy more loot bags, since I think you can only buy 3 right now?
Yes.
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 Also,
there is a plan for us to do that. And for what it's worth... Okay,
fine. You go.
All right, we can... Sure, why not?
I was going to spoil it.
That's fine. Let me just... I'll preamble this. We're revamping... not revamping, but we're updating the way that the inventory and... the hero section of the screen looks, and that possibly might add you a little more space into your bags than you have right now. So there's a couple of different things. One, you'll definitely be able to buy more inventory space and more bags in the future, and then 2, we actually might give you some more space for free with what you already have.
Perfect. So that's time. Thank you everyone for coming. Now I'm going to show you, this is the biggest reveal of the Spooky Maps so far. It's a tree branch.
Oh my gosh.
From the Spooky Maps. So you can see here, this is a spooky tree branch. You can look, Robbie worked really hard on this tree. So it's a really nice tree. Actually, he made a lot of trees, and this is the one that got picked. So
he was making trees for weeks. This
is actually not the tree that he's really proud of. I don't think they got in the screenshot the tree that he was really proud of, unfortunately. So
yeah.
This is just a normal tree. Maybe in like 6 months, I'll show you the tree that he's proud of. That's not when the map's coming out. That just might be when I print out.
We don't know when the map's coming out.
All right. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to them all. I'll try to have Josh organize the rest of the questions getting answered, maybe in some kind of physical form.
Yeah,
and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Great talking to you guys. Take care.
Thanks.